Hey, good morning, everybody. Just getting ready to get going here. So we are going to be starting really soon. In fact, seems like we just did. Hold on, and that was awkward. Okay, so it looks like it's working. Let's get started. So good morning, everybody. Joining you here for our, I think it's fourth group leader live stream for NCYC 2019, getting us all ready to go. So I'm assuming everybody's joining us. If you're watching this on the group leaders page, all you need to do is just watch it there. If you want to take part of the chat, you're going to want to open this up in YouTube. So then you can join in the chat there. I see a lot of us are already chatting, including somebody who's got a birthday today. Happy birthday, Michelle. Adding Kelly. Oh, cool. Anyway, that's neat that you have a birthday, and that you're spending it with us is just appropriate, because what would you rather do on your birthday than watch some weird dude with, like, look at this long hair. Anyway, I got to get a haircut. I'll be shaved this afternoon. All right, let's talk. All right, so we're going to go through a few things today and get going. In the meantime, if you have any questions, just go ahead and throw it into the chat. If you're if you're joining us via, again, watching on YouTube, it's a lot easier to do that. Otherwise, you just yell and hope somebody hears you. All right, let's get going. So today we got a few things to do. Nothing too exciting. Actually, no, I'm sorry. I forgot about this first slide. It's very exciting. So we're going to do a quick delegation update. I'm going to talk about forms and registration. This is the most stressful thing for group leaders. This is the kind of stuff we get questions about all the time. So if you've been watching these before, a lot of this will be redundant, but I just want to make sure everybody's clear and allow people to ask questions. We'll talk about adult selection, some formation opportunities, NCYC medication. That'll be exciting. Who's excited for the NCYC medication one, huh? All right. We'll talk about the T-shirt challenge. I sent an email a couple weeks ago inviting young people to draft a T-shirt for the NCYC Archdiocese of Dubuque delegation T-shirt. And then a little bit about our partner dioceses. So let's get cracking. In the meantime, if you have any questions or comments, just go ahead and chat away, and then we will respond to those as they come in. If you are watching the recorded version, entering in the chat will take a lot longer for me to get back to you, because I don't look at that anymore. So shoot me an email if you're watching this after the live stream. So here we are. It's always fun to put together a presentation with the delegation update. When you're putting the PowerPoint together the day before the presentation, it's just kind of goofy. So yesterday, the waiting list had 28 spots to buy. What that means is there are currently groups that are looking to add a total of 28 spots to their parish group. Now, since yesterday that's changed, I think it's gone up like 5 or 6. Thanks, Annie Zietz. Anyway, with the 28 spots to buy, if there's groups out there, if you are looking to reduce your group size, there's 28 people who are hoping to buy one of your spots. If nobody's looking to sell spots, if nobody's looking to reduce their group size, we'll simply add those 28 spots to the total delegation number at the end of March, and everybody will be able to go. So what I'm looking at is through March, April, and May are kind of still into the recruitment months. We can add pretty easily through those times. We have hotel space right now still available. Once we get past the May 31st deadline, we'll be talking about that a lot this morning. Once we get past May 31st, things will tighten up a lot. It will be a lot more difficult to add spots. We'll have to be adding gender specific and age specific. There will be a little bit more of a question there about how we do that. It's still possible, but it'll be a lot more difficult. So if you still think some young people are on the fence, or even some of those parents of young people, or some high passioned young adult volunteers are looking to go to NCYC, but they haven't committed yet, you got some time yet to still work on getting them to go. But please know that window is closing soon. But waiting lists will be added end of March. Our total group size, once you add those people onto it, is a little bit short of 1,700, which is right about where we wanted to be at 1,700 strong. So that's kind of our hope. And as these numbers keep growing, that'll continue to get closer to that 1,700 number. So that's where we are right now. And again, this has changed since yesterday. It's probably closer to 1,683 or something like that. If you have group size changes, we are in the period where we're coming up on the April 1st billing cycle. We do want to know what your group size is so that we bill you accordingly. So in the next 3 weeks, if you have anybody drop or anybody who wants to add, you need to let me know that ASAP. Once the invoices get cranked out in early April, they will not be done on April 1st because I do only silly things on April 1st. But on April 2nd, they might be generated. And once those invoices get sent out to our finance office, please, please, please make sure your bookkeepers are paying the invoiced amount, even if your group size changes between the time the invoice is created and you receive it, just because it messes things up on this end. If things change, we will take care of the change by either giving you a credit or another charge on the upcoming invoice, and we'll settle everything out a couple months after the April invoice and the June invoice. So please make sure you pay the invoice as it comes out. April, $150 per person. That's coming out just a few short weeks. So if I were you, I'd be collecting that money from your peoples as we get going. All right, so here's the paperwork. A lot of you are already planning to have parent participant meetings in March and April, and I got the email. I get these emails probably, I'd say twice a day. I get emails from people saying, what do I need to collect from people? Here's what you got to get. All right, so there's an individual registration form. This is standard for everybody. All young people and adults need to fill out the individual registration form. This is basically a tool to collect the information you need to register them online. You do not need to send it to our office. We just need the information off of it, and you will enter that into the group leader portal. You should have received an email with a youth NCYC liability waiver from the Archdiocese. It's specific to NCYC and it's specific to your group. If you do not have that, please let me know. We will ship one off to you via PDF real soon. The adult liability waiver is the standard offsite event adult liability waiver for the Archdiocese. It's a little simple paragraph. It's very simple, but you need one of those for each adult. So that's it. I mean, those are the three forms you need completed: the individual, the registration form, the youth liability, and the adult liability waiver for the Archdiocese. If you want to start filling out the hotel rooming assignments already, that's helpful. We won't have hotel assignments done until after that May 31st deadline. But if you want to send those in so you're kind of just like done for the spring paperwork, that is absolutely fine. But you don't have to do that until like September, if that's easier for you, to wait until your groups are all figured out next fall. It's just, anyway, there you go. Please make sure you send the hard copies of the youth liability form. They can be copies, but please send copies to our office. Make sure before you do that, you make a copy for yourself. Please do not send them to us without having first made copies for yourself, just in case they get lost in the mail or burst into flames. All right, so those need to come to our office. We need them by May 31st. Cool. All right, there's the office address right there. If you need it, you can always come back and look at the recorded video or just shoot me an email and say, where do I send these? So the registration form is the individual registration form is what we use to do the participant registration. This all happens on the group leader portal. Again, you should all have received your login and password information. Please be aware the password uses special characters, so it's weird. So take your time doing it. Like there will be like ampersands and percent signs and underscores and things like that in your password. That's because we're collecting sensitive information like medical stuff. And so we don't want anybody having access to that. So we have increased security with those passwords. But you should have received the login and password information for your group. Whoever's doing the registration for your group will need that login and password. They simply log in and they go to navigate to the new participant button, and then it opens up a new participant record, and then you just start filling in the information. We've had people test, and it takes about 2 minutes per person, so give yourself some time. Once you're done completing a person, you can click a new person, or you can go back to see your group. It's pretty simple to do. You don't have to do them all at once. You can do 5 a day if that's your Lenten practice. Okay, or if you're Annie, that would be 5 a day for all of Lent. That's 40 days. Holy cow. All right, so registration is due. So I need the forms and the group registration, everybody from your group registered into the group leader portal by May 31st. We need to have that all cleaned up and cranked out, and we need to be registering to the national office by the end of June in order to get everybody the early bird discount that we've been looking for. That's the $575 rate that for people who are done by May 31st. That's because we have a rate increase if we are not registered as a diocese by the end of June. So that's why we need it all by May 31st. It is not an artificial deadline. Do your best to see what you can do to get those into us by then. Let me just go back to this. One more thing on this. Please know that is it possible to have somebody join us after May 31st? Yes. On our end, that is the case. So if there's a lot of transitioning happening in your group, we will just deal with that as substitutions. We can add spots. We can still sell spots. It just gets a lot more difficult after May 31st than it is before. So please don't feel like you ever have to slam the door closed on an opportunity. We're going to try to help as much as we can. The closer it gets to NCYC, the more difficult it is for us. But we are hoping to help you do that. But just if you have any questions, just shoot us an email and ask about the situation, and we'll help you from there. Okay, before you register your adults, okay, so this is the adults who've got the adult individual registration forms completed. Before you go online and plug them into our system, please do a few things. Please review their adult registration forms. On the bottom of the form, there is a field that asks for some important information that you're going to need to get from your Safe Environment Coordinator. What we're hoping to have is that before the adults are put into our system, that they've already been screened by your POC compliance, your Safe Environment Coordinator, to ensure that they have had the background check done, that they've had the CMG training. Currently, when I look into some of the groups that have already done the registrations for their groups, first of all, kudos to you for getting way out ahead of that one. But what I'm looking at is 75% of the adults do not have a training date listed in their registration, and 2/3 of those adults do not have a background check date either. So what needs to happen then is, if that's the case, when we start reviewing these things as soon as we get your forms, that you're going to get a whole list of things that you still need to do. So that congests our time dramatically. So between Jim reviewing your adults and seeing if they're compliant or not, if you haven't provided those dates, he's going to have to create a list of things you're going to have to go get. He's going to send you that list. You're going to have to go get those adults to do those things. And that's going to take time to get those adults to do it. And that all needs to be done by May 31st. So the sooner you can work with your Safe Environment Coordinator at your parish or school to ensure that your adults are good to go, that's going to make your job and our job a heck of a lot easier. And we keep Jim happy, and that's important. So the Safe Environment Coordinator is going to just check to make sure that the background check is current, the completion of CMG training is done, and there should be, all they need to do is go in and look, and it should say approved. And so if the Safe Environment Coordinator sees the approved thing, and it can give us the dates of those background checks and training dates, then they're going to be good to go. We are in the process right now of having a quick tutorial that you can sit down with your Safe Environment Coordinator, specific to NCYC, and if you're doing any other youth events, overnight retreats, or anything that you want to verify your catechists. This is a tool that you can use to sit down with them and go through how to verify your adults. The question is, what constitutes a current background check? A current background check is anybody who's had a background check. So it does not have to be in the new system. Anybody who's had a background check and has been working in the same organization. So they've been volunteering for St. Kevin Parish for the last 8 years. They've always done it. They've always filled out that annual acknowledgement form. And that background check was transferred over into our new system. They're good to go. If they are only an NCYC volunteer, and they did NCYC in 2017, and you've recruited them now, and they're coming to meetings now for NCYC, and they're doing NCYC again in 2019, and they did a background check 2 years ago, that still counts as being current. If they worked NCYC 2011 and you haven't seen them for the last 8 years, that is not current. Okay, so that's what we mean by current. If you're not clear about whether somebody is current or not, your Safe Environment Coordinator should be able to look and see any information on them. It might just be easiest to have a new background check done. It doesn't hurt to do that. More is better when it comes to background checks. Okay, unless you're paying for it, then it's kind of a burden. But do look for this link. We'll send you a quick video. It'll be about 10 minutes long, 10 to 15 minutes long. And the goal is that you, as a group coordinator, a group leader, and your site Safe Environment Coordinator can sit down together and watch this quick tutorial about what you both can do to make sure your adults are compliant before filling that out. All right, so this it seems like a lot of headache. Please know that it is a headache. But with everything going on in our church right now, I just think we have to remind ourselves of our responsibility to keep our kids safe. So this isn't just random and meaningless stuff we're doing. We are working hard to ensure a safe environment for our young people, and that really needs that responsibility of keeping our kids safe needs to guide everything we do. If somebody did a background check in 2007 and they've been active since then, and that even means coming to planning meetings in this current school year, then yep, that would be considered current. So that's the question on the form. Okay, if you are not aware, the Archdiocese, in lines with keeping our kids safe and making sure that we are screening our adults appropriately, we have new standards of conduct that's applicable for the whole Archdiocese. I got to tell you, I love this document. It just came out, it just approved on January 28th or 29th. It was in the February 1st official bulletin. If you want to go look and see if you can find that, you can also find it here in dbqarch.org. Go to the Offices tab, then go into the Protection of Children office, and then click on the Standards of Conduct. I love this document for two reasons. One is it's only 3 pages long, very simple to read, very easy, and it gives us everything we need to know as far as guidance on what to do to be making good, responsible decisions for keeping young people safe. But just to give you a quick, brief overview, this is kind of important as you're forming adult leaders to come with us to NCYC. A couple things to keep in mind. Just breaking this down, there's like section 3 of the standards of conduct is all about how do we deal with minors. So 3.1 is basically do a team approach. In scouting, Boy Scouts, I'm a volunteer with the Boy Scouts of America, and we always have the 2 deep rule. There's always 2 adults, so always 2 adults, always 2 adults. And that makes sense as much as possible. If small groups are meeting and you're meeting in the same room, you've got more than 1 adult because you have more than 1 small group leader, you're good. But generally, as much as possible, always 2 adults. Relationships with integrity, that we want the adults who are working with young people to just be adults of good character, who know how to make good decisions, and to be the adult in the room. That's important. No exclusive relationships with minors. There shouldn't be any one-to-one communication. There shouldn't be any adult walking off with a minor by themselves, and that includes electronically. So as much as possible to not communicate one-on-one with a young person. So for example, I got an email from a young woman who's an NCYC participant who has t-shirt designs. When I respond to her, I'm going to copy in her group leader as well, because I should not be sending an email to a minor. Okay, not without another adult in that conversation. The 3.4, it says no harmful physical contact. So we're not going to discipline people by smacking them. All right, that just kind of makes sense. We're not going to grab them and hurt them in any kind of physical way. 3.5 gets a bit more in depth about some of these other things. The first part talks about when working with minors, we're not going to use tobacco products, alcohol, illegal drugs, or pornography when with minors. I mean, this is not something we're going to do. Now, I can't think of a possible exception to when that would be okay, any part of that. All right, that's like there's no reason at all why any part of that would be inappropriate. In other words, we're not going to also supply them with pornography, alcohol, or illegal drugs. Like I cannot think of a situation where that would be where there would be a situation. Well, but it made sense at the time. No, there's never going to be a time where that's going to be the case. So these are always good things. The third point, though, is personnel shall not give legal drugs to a minor without the express written permission of a parent or guardian. Causes us to take a look at a few things a little bit differently. So here's the deal. We do not provide legal drugs to minors without written permission. That's the guidance. On the annual liability waiver that we sent out to you, there's a spot on there that gives permission for non-prescription meds to be given to their minors. It's on the waiver. So they say yes or no, prescription drugs may be given. So that's why when an NCYC, if a young person comes up to you and says, I've got a headache, can I have an aspirin or a Tylenol or an ibuprofen or whatever? The first thing you're going to do is pull out a copy of their youth liability waiver and see if it was indicated that you can. If it says no, you're not allowed to, period, the end. If it says yes, then you're permitted to. But that's on the waiver. It's already collected. What we didn't have was something that gives us signed written permission to make prescription medication available. See, because our policy had always been that when we get to NCYC or when they get on the bus, group leaders would collect the meds and hold on to them and then make them available to the minors when it's time to take it. We just didn't want young people in possession of prescription meds just in case there was a mistake of kids switching meds on accident, teenage boys in a room with a whole bunch of prescription drugs, just you do your own conclusions. So what we've proposed to use, and this is still in a proposal state, but we'll probably have, is a standard form. It'll look like this. I borrowed the form from another organization, but the procedures will be pretty much the same, that you'll provide this form to parents probably in the fall, and you'll say, if your young person has any prescription meds that they need to take while at NCYC, please complete this form. It's an authorization form for administration of medication. So the parent will fill out the participant's information, their date of birth, all the stuff you need to know about the medication and when it needs to be taken, and any kind of additional information, and they'll sign it. On the back of this is a log, so whoever's, so anyway, they'll send this in a Ziploc bag with the meds in the original container. They'll give it to you when they drop their kid off that day. You as the group leader will be in possession of these prescription meds, and when you'll just have to have a responsibility of knowing who needs what meds when, and at that point you make the meds available to the young person. So if you've got a kid who's taking ADHD meds every morning or every 4 hours, in the morning you would give them the bottle. They would take out the pill that they need. You're not measuring dosage or anything. They give you the pills back, and on the backside you just log the date and that they took the pill and what time. And then at noon, when they have to take it at noon, you give them the meds. They take the meds. You write on the log, same date, noon, same dosage, whatever. Okay, so that way it's just we're tracking any kind of prescription medications that we're managing for these young people. It should be that simple. And then when we get back, you just give the rest of the pills back to the parent or guardian. That will be an added step. I mean, it's not really an added step because we've always recommended this. The only thing that's different is that we're giving you a form to use to help guide that. Okay. So these standards of conduct are very similar to the NFCYM's Adult Code of Conduct. If you've never been to NCYC before, if that's new to you, there is a code of conduct, a very simple single side sheet of paper that will give the young people very clear expectations for what their behavior should be, and it'll give the adults very clear expectations. There's nothing contradictory between our standards of conduct and the Adult Code of Conduct. Those codes of conduct will be coming out in the fall, and we'll ask you to walk through those with your teens and adults when you meet with them to complete the NFCYM's liability waivers. Remember, we got another batch of forms coming in the fall. So once you get all of our art stuff in, you can worry about the NFCYM, the national stuff, in the fall. Students cannot hang on to their own prescription meds, but can carry meds like Tylenol, correct? If they're prescription drugs if they're non-prescription drugs that they can buy in the store, we have no ability to tell them no. Another thing, Catherine asked the question in the chat about hanging on to their own prescription medications or other medications. The exception to whether or not kids can hang on to prescription meds is EpiPens, inhalers, things that are dealing with airway constricting conditions. So if you've got somebody who's diabetic, and they need to carry insulin with them all the time, by all means, we are not going to take that from them and make them die. That's not something we do. Remember, we got two rules. One of them is no one dies, all right? Chaperone formation. We've been talking about what we can do to help our adults transition from just being chaperones to being faith mentors to youth accompaniers. We are still in the process of getting our training series developed. It's going to be slower than we thought. We were hoping to have that out to you a month ago. It's just taking a bit longer in development, so I apologize for that. We do hope to have a video series available to train you and for you to use to train your adults. Probably better to focus on that in the fall if you'd like to do that. That being said, if you think it would be helpful for you to just get the spirit going in your adults of what their roles could be, and if you've got some hand-picked adults going to NCYC and you want to train them to get the sense of youth accompaniment going so that they have a sense of what they're building to in your NCYC team, if you would like to coordinate like a regional chaperone training, I would be happy to put together a training program that would be about 60 to 90 minutes long, and I'd be happy to come out to any parts of the Archdiocese to meet with you and your adults to do that. The only thing I'd ask is if you're interested in doing that, let's bring a few other groups together too, so that I'm not just training 3 adults at a time. But if you want to coordinate something for March or April to help us talk about youth accompaniment and building up that skill set in adults, I am very excited to get out of my office. So let me know if that's something that'd be helpful to you. Just shoot me an email and we'll set up a date, and then we'll try to invite others from the nearby area to come out and join us as well. It's best to be done in person if we can, because we will be doing some modeling and actually doing some small group discussion type things, okay? So if you're interested in that, let me know if you want to take advantage. I would encourage you to, with the adults, though, focus on spiritual formation of them. Help them in prayer. Lent's a great opportunity to do that. Pray for the adults that you have found, and also encourage them to do some more continual growth and learning. Build your chaperones into a team of youth ministers. I love this idea that youth ministers used to be a hired position for the parish. I'd rather us talk about those people who are working and doing ministry with young people. Those are your chaperones. So we're going to try to build them into a team, not just as somebody who's going to come to a conference, but how do they feel a part of the team of the parish? Just looking at the chat. Yep. Thanks, Catherine. Let me know this fall if you want to schedule something up. Otherwise, you can take advantage of the resources that we collect for you. Catherine said in the chat that she's looking to focus summer and spring on the formation of the adults to focus on their faith and why they're going, then move into youth accompaniment. I think that is just brilliant. All right, in that line, a few other things to consider for your chaperones. One is if you've got adults who are just natural leaders and who are naturally fed and called to this discipleship thing, I'd highly recommend you take a look at every adult you've got signed up to go to NCYC and ask them and encourage them to consider being a part of the Impact program. This is our adult lay formation program that we've been having going on in the Archdiocese for several years. Mary Peterson, our adult faith formation director, coordinates this. It's high quality. It's just amazing formation, and it's really affordable. I don't know, it's like under $300 for a year or 2 years. It might even be for the 2 years. I don't even know about this. I think it's $300 a year, something like that. And your parishes can help us with some of that price. It's really affordable. Check out more information. The new program will be starting this fall. So this would be a wonderful time for somebody who's looking at going as an adult volunteer or a youth accompanier to start growing more intently in their faith. They've got room for about 100 folks, so let's fill it up. This is a great program. It's really affordable, high quality, and local. It'll be taking place in El Cader, Iowa, which is like in the northeast part of the Archdiocese. So it's a bit more rural, but certainly within driving distance to all of the major metropolitan areas, and a beautiful, beautiful facility. So look into that. Also, I'd encourage you to recruit your adults to come join us for the Dr. Sri night, Wednesday, May 1st. It's free to the public. Donations are accepted. This is filling up. This is kind of interesting. We've done just a little bit of promotional stuff on it, and word is spreading, and we're already up to about 150 people signed up, and space is limited at about 300 to 400 people. So, and we're still 2 months away. So if you think this would be good for your adult volunteers, get them to commit if you can, and then reserve their spaces. Go to dbqarch.org/events and reserve your group. It's free. We will be passing a bucket to take up a free will donation to cover the costs of the event, but it's by no means an obligation to pay anything. We're bringing the guy in for an event on Thursday, May 2nd. So we thought we would make it available for the general audience on the 1st. All right, that's a good segue. So if you're in faith formation, if this is something you're not just doing as a volunteer for your parish, God bless you. But if you would like to, if you are a faith formation leader, somebody who's working for the church, we do have a special gathering for all faith formation leaders on May 2nd, Thursday, May 2nd from 9 to 3. It's kind of like we'd like to have as many of you there as possible. It's a great day. Dr. Sri is going to talk about what it means to, at our world specifically, to be in the dust of the rabbi, to follow Jesus. What does it mean in our profession to be disciples of Jesus? And then he's also going to talk about Pope Francis and how he's influenced parish ministry. So it'll be a bit of a 1-2 punch for us that day. That's starting off our 4-part series. We have a lot going on that Thursday and Friday for faith formation leaders. That night we'll be doing a mini retreat, just like a 3-4 hours, kind of a slow ourselves down and talk about, again, how we're going to apply a lot of the stuff that Dr. Sri talked about. How does that translate into who we are as spiritual people, not just professionals in ministry, but also spiritual disciples of Jesus ourselves. We'll be having overnight accommodations, and we do a little bit of a campfire and just kind of relaxing tone the rest of the night, staying at Iwalu's Stone Center, just north of Strawberry Point. And then part D is youth ministry networking that next morning. We'll be focusing on ministry to adolescents. It's not exclusive to quote-unquote youth ministers. It's for anybody who deals with young people, and we'll be talking about important issues of sexuality and sexual morality that are facing teenagers today, including pornography and other issues like that, and just the temptation that young people are going through, and how do we pastorally minister to young people who are going through so many different temptations regarding their sexuality. So if you're interested in that, check out any more information. dbqarch.org/events will get you there. Otherwise, dbqarch.org/FFL conference retreat will also get you all of that information. Okay, a few more things. Do we still have copies of the Into His Likeness book at the Arch for purchase? I do not think so. In fact, I think that the publisher is out. I think they're doing a reprint, and it won't be available until like much later, like August maybe, I heard. So the book has been so popular, it's gone. Somebody else writes, impact cost. When an applicant is sponsored through the parish, the participant and the parish will each cover 1/2 of the annual cost. Participants may choose to apply without their parish. So sponsorship will be reimbursed with the entire cost of $300 per year. So total cost of the 2-year program is $600, with half paid by the participant and half paid by the parish. So there you go. For the impact program, $300 per person for 2 years if the parish kicks in the other $300. And I would just say that if I were a pastor and I were looking at making an investment, a $300 investment on an adult to go through the impact program, that's worth about 20 times that as far as really changing the life of our parishes. So if you're a pastor and you're watching this, invest in the impact program. I endorse it wholly. Is there any way you could live stream some of those topics so those who can't be there, I'm assuming we mean at the Faith Formation Leader event, have a chance to learn? Catherine, we will look into that for you. Some of these I don't know about, like the Dr. Sri event. We had to get permission from him to do that. The retreat, I don't think we could live stream. The conversation about youth engagement on Friday morning would probably be the highest likelihood that we'd be able to do that. Obviously, the campfire, no, you got to be there in person. You just can't eat a s'more virtually. It's just not good for you. Reinforced by Martin, you are correct. My pastor tried to get 300 copies to hand out of the book, and the publisher only had 50 left. So they got them. All right. So we're all out of the Into His Likeness book. I have a copy myself. I am like 3/4 of the way through it. In about a few weeks, if you'd like to borrow that one, you can have my one copy. It's all marked up and earmarked and stuff. But anyway, that's for books. All right, great stuff, folks, great stuff. Okay, one more thing. I think 2 more things, actually, and then we'll be done with this. There's a t-shirt challenge. So one of my least favorite things I do is design a t-shirt for NCYC, because I've learned that no matter what I do, it's pretty bad. So not to say anything, we've got some great talented people here who could actually do that better than me. But if you think your young people are up to the challenge, we are offering a discount towards the cost of NCYC. I forget right now what the discount amount was. If you remember that email and you remember what the discount was, please put it in the chat. But if your young person is interested in taking up the challenge of designing a t-shirt, there's a few pieces of guidance I want you to make sure you run by them before they submit them. Number 1, it should somehow reflect the words blessed, broken, given. Those are the themes for NCYC. We want to steer to that. We want to say Archdiocese of Dubuque on it somewhere. We're trying to also utilize a ripple effect. We have a youth journal, a participant journal that's being developed. It's darn close. And we've had this ripple effect that's kind of constant throughout that journal. So we're kind of using that image as how are we using NCYC to, again, affect all that we do, so that NCYC is the impetus for much more that's going to ripple out from it. $100 discount for t-shirts. There you go. $100. Whoever wins this gets $100. Any other idea that encourages the owner of the shirt to live and express their faith would be great. So we don't just want this to be simple. We want it to kind of be mission driven, and we want this to be something that a young person can find themselves being proud of and being challenged to express their faith after NCYC. Avoid colors that fade from one to another. We're going to be doing screen printing, so we don't have a lot of opportunity to do like cool color fades, because you're going to have to go from green to like green blue to like blue green to like blue. So there would be like 4 colors to do a fade, and it's going to look a little pixelated. It never works out great with screen printing, so avoid the whole fading thing. Avoid hands on the front of the shirt. Let me say it again. Avoid hands on the front of the shirt. You might want to even avoid other questionable images on the front of the shirt. More on that in a few seconds. Limit the idea to 4 to 5 colors if you can, and we will be doing long sleeve shirts. They are actually pretty confused. A ripple effect is a graphic, Catherine, so imagine dropping a marble in a pond and seeing the ripples. Those are the kind of images we're going for. I wish I could switch real quick and show you what we're talking about, but if there's any kind of like, I don't know, like rippling, you know what I mean? Like rippling. Not ruffles, not ruffles. They have ripples, but not ruffles. Okay, I'm confused about it now hearing me say it, Catherine, too, but that's what we mean by rippling. So something has an effect and kind of expands from there. Okay, so let me show you a few examples. Why do we say avoid hands on the front? All right, this is innocent enough, but if you look at it long enough, you can kind of realize that this is not the right thing to put on a shirt. Okay, so there were no models of t-shirts on Custom Ink with women on them, but if this were on a woman, you would imagine that this is just not the right graphic. And the reason we point this out is because it seems like every young person who sends a t-shirt design thinks that prayer-filled hands cupping a left breast is just a beautiful idea and inspirational. I would find it to be questionable. So anyway, please avoid hands on the front of the shirt. Also, please try to make your shirt more mission-driven. As much as this is what I want to say when I'm designing a t-shirt, this is probably not going to be justifiable for why we as a diocese would spend $14,000 on apparel. Financial aid application for NCYC should be on the group leader page, Martin. If it's not, let me know. I'm pretty sure the financial aid application for NCYC, which are due soon, I think we have an April deadline for those too. So thanks, Martin, for the reminder. If you've got young people who are in need of financial aid for NCYC, financial aid applies to low-income families, those who qualify for free or reduced price school lunch, or those who are going through a significant hardship. The low income discount is $300. The hardship discount is $150. That comes right at the top of their price. Hardship would be a kid who's struggling right now significantly, somebody who's just lost their parent, somebody whose parents are going through a divorce, somebody whose pet gerbil just died. I'm kidding about the gerbil. Anyway, there you go. All right. One more quick update. As you may be aware, if you're joining us for the first time on this, the Archdiocese of Dubuque took up the challenge to sponsor a traveling diocese. Actually, we're sponsoring 2 different traveling dioceses. These are dioceses who have to spend more than $1,500 a person to get their kids to come to NCYC. So some of these dioceses have never had a delegation before because it's just never been possible for them. So we have reached out and found 2 partner dioceses that we're going to be working with, the Archdiocese of Anchorage, Alaska, and the Diocese of San Bernardino, California. Both of them we're sponsoring to the tune of we've committed about $10,000 per diocese. And we know that a lot of you are already doing fundraising to help with that. If you have not done so yet, we are hoping that you could talk to your young people, your pastor, your adults, your parish, preferably keep the fundraising in your NCYC delegation itself. We are challenging all of you to ask your kids to donate $10, just $10 a person will be able to provide the ability for 15 kids from other states all the way on the other side of the world, essentially for Alaska, to get to NCYC who'd otherwise not have a chance to go. So San Bernardino is using this money to sponsor specifically 1 young person and 1 adult chaperone from each parish in their diocese. And they're a mission diocese, which means they don't have a lot of Catholics. They don't have a lot of money. They're getting like 6 parishes to take up a chance to actually just go check out NCYC. So they're forming this little group of about 12 to 15 people who are going to come check it out. They've never been here before. They wouldn't be able to go without your help. What they're doing in Anchorage is they're actually using our contributions to get matching donations so that people who are from more indigenous populations or more remote from Anchorage itself, these young people have to spend $1,000 to fly to Anchorage before they can even get on a plane to fly to Indy. All right, so just think about that kind of cost. So we're getting people who are in rural Alaska who would never have a chance to go before. So Anchorage is actually using our 10,000. They're going to double it to make it 20. But to do that, we need you to ask your young people to kick in $10 a person, or to do a specific fundraising that's specific to our partner dioceses. If you have raised money already, we get this question every once in a while, how do you send it into us? Just send a check to the Archdiocese of Dubuque, and in the memo, please write NCYC Diocesan Partnership. NCYC Diocesan Partnership. It's going to go into a special fund. This way, it's not influencing or taking away from anything from the NCYC funds that your kids are getting for their programming. So this is a challenge big time. We do expect each of the dioceses to be putting together a little video about their diocese so we can see a bit more about what the reality of is like doing youth ministry in Southern California or in Alaska. And both of those, we're expecting to hear from them soon. The goal is to have those by the end of March. But as video development goes, it may be a bit late. This is what we get to use. We're also planning a mixer dinner for Friday night at NCYC. We'll be able to pick one delegation to represent the Archdiocese, probably about 25 to 30 people. And then we'll be meeting with 25 people from each of those dioceses as we understand it. That'll be representing those dioceses as well. So we'll be meeting somewhere and we'll have a meal provided by hopefully fundraised money. So we're going to look to that. And that'll be Friday night at NCYC from like 4:30 to 6:30 right before the general session begins. So that's going to be an exciting time that we'll be able to get kids from Alaska and Anchorage and San Bernardino and the Archdiocese to get together and all share their stories about what faith is like being a young person where they're growing up. So that's going to be a neat little thing that we're going to do, deliberate little microcosm of the universal church. I'm excited about seeing that happen. So if you have any way to support that, again, the more you can do to help those people out, I'm just on their behalf, they're grateful. They're excited about being able to go to NCYC where they couldn't before. So thanks for sharing that experience with them. Again, send checks to NCYC in partnership. All right, at this point, any questions, please feel free to throw them in the chat. We'll stay on for about another minute as questions come in and I'll address those. Otherwise, if you have any questions or concerns, please shoot me or Jim an email. If you have group size changes, if there's anything changing in your group, anybody coming on board that you haven't communicated or anybody dropping that you haven't been able to fill, please let me know. In the meantime, you can be collecting forms. Please make sure you read through them and make sure everything's signed, everything's initialed, and everything like that before. You do not need to fill out the asthma form. You do not need to fill out the asthma form. On the form that goes out to you, it might not. I think it says parents can waive the asthma form by just clicking that box there. We just want to know that they're on asthma, so they'll be carrying an inhaler with them. But you do not have to fill out an asthma form. That is no longer a requirement for parish programming. Okay, but please look over all the other form stuff and send those in to us as soon as you are comfortable that they're complete. Any questions with the group leader portal, logging into that, please let me know. That's sometimes that can be difficult. Otherwise, any other questions, go ahead and type them into the chat or send me an email at any time. We will be happy to help you out. On the group leader portal, I'm not seeing a spot for preferred communication for adults. Am I missing something? That's a great question. Let me take a look at that. I'm going to make a note, Marcy. If it's not there, it will be there in probably a half an hour. So we usually ask for that. We used to ask for that at the chaperone training meetings in the fall. But I'm just making a note here. We thought we'd ask for it up front, so we don't have to do that again then. So let me see. I'll add that on there. Everybody, if you just heard that, there might not be a spot to communicate that yet. I will plug that into that form here in the next few minutes. Which reminds me, I have selected a few tentative sites for group leader meetings to occur in October. For group leader and chaperone trainings to occur in October. So please pay attention. We'll be sending those out as soon as we have those dates. We will let you know so you can start planning for you and your chaperones. I come short of saying that they're required. I think they're very helpful for the adults to know what their role as chaperone will be. It's going to be specific to their chaperone duties. So if you've got parents who are going but are not like faith role models or faith mentors or small group leaders, that is fine. But you want to encourage all of your adults to be at the chaperone trainings in October. If they cannot be there, there will be a recorded option as well, but it won't be nearly as awesome as being in person. What about a contest or something for the young to be a part of for the Friday supper? That's cool. That's not a bad idea. We have not decided how we will do that yet. But if there is a parish in our diocese who would fit into that room that we have reserved and they have raised $10,000, I will guarantee that that one group will be able to be a part of the dinner. So it's not like it's a contest. We just want as many people used to support this as possible. But yeah, Patty, good idea about having a contest to see who gets into that Friday supper. Otherwise, it might just be a group that just makes the most sense. And that's something we're going to figure out probably in the fall once we get more finalized numbers and see how the collections come in. So we have some groups that have been taking this very seriously and they've had special designated fundraisers just for these groups. Those are the kind of groups that I'd want to make sure that they get to feel like they've earned a spot there. Anyway, might keep it as a parish group as a whole rather than breaking it into individuals, but it's still yet to be determined. But there will be some archdiocesan representation there. All right, everybody, thanks for your time. Thanks for everything you do to make NCYC so successful. We're excited about doing this again. We're getting into the swing of things. NCYC 2019 is coming up before you know it. We are, what, 7 months away? Not 8 months away? That's creepy. That'll be here before you know it. So, all right, get cracking on those forms and getting your young people loved, all right? Don't forget that NCYC, the most important of NCYC is the money we get back, so do everything you can now to plan for making your youth ministry stronger, and let NCYC be the way you do that. All right, thanks, everybody, and have a super good day. Anything I can do, let me know. All right, be good.